What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we're taking a peek over here at the cryptocurrency market. We'll be taking a look at the Bitcoin price chart and the altcoin market, which we've got a green day over here in the crypto market. I think we'll all take that. One of the interesting things, of course, has been monitoring this altcoin market cap over here on how it has been back at this previous 2018 all-time high region and at that 200-week moving average, catching another green week so far this week, trying to crawl out of the basement of oversold relative strength here on the weekly time frame. There are still 3 days and 10 hours remaining in the rest of this week. We can see even Ethereum over here trying to fight its way back above that 200-week moving average as we speak. We can look to the past 2 weeks. We can see it has wicked above it both of those weeks as well. So with 3 days remaining, still some time to go in here, but trying to get back above with Bitcoin trying to break above trend right here. So we'll dive into these briefly. We'll also talk about some cryptocurrency news. Before we get started though, today's sponsor is Link2. They are a sponsor of the Blockchain Backer YouTube channel where private investing made simple. If you're interested in investing in companies prior to them going IPO, Link2 is the place to go to. Today, they're running a special where they're dropping the minimum investment threshold from $10,000 to $5,000 for Ripple and for Uphold. And they're airdropping $1,000 back in XRP to all accredited investors that invest in both. So over here on Link2, you can invest in companies prior to them going public, including popular names like Ripple, Link2, Uphold, BitPay. And today, they've dropped the minimum investment threshold for Ripple and for Uphold. And if you get both of them, you also get $1,000 in XRP airdrop to your Uphold wallet. You can check out Link2 by visiting the link in the description of each of my videos to check out the companies that they have available and to get yourself accredited for pre-IPO investing. This promo is good for the rest of today. Over here at Link2, private investing made simple. Now, interesting morning over here for Bitcoin getting back to $20,900 and, well, whether it's breaking trend or not. The reason I don't really use trend lines a whole lot is you could pretty much just put them wherever you want. You could say, oh, look, we broke trend. That was great. Then what happened? It whipped itself back down. So hard to say there's really actually a trend happening in here, but it's interesting to see the prices are now back up to what we haven't seen since back in June. For all technical reasons, you're still just sitting here within a range over here on Bitcoin. And if we look at like fib retracement levels of where we're at right now, we could see that Bitcoin's really kind of like back to a 702 Fibonacci retracement from what happened from the top back on June 26th. So nothing really in the clear for Bitcoin happening in here. But we can see the broader market is green. And again, the tech sector is green over here in the stock market, with the Dow Jones also up this morning. Now, I'm not an ARK fanboy. I'm not a Cathie Wood fanboy, but, you know, ARK Innovation ETF, technology, cryptocurrency seems to follow technology, right? If you guys know, I bought ARK for the first time in my life down here at $46. It has not been a pleasant ride sitting in that position. It has taken a drawdown. It's now back to just about break even at this point. But even here, you could see the weekly divergence starting to emerge here with the roll-up starting here for Cathie Wood, for innovation. And like mentioned earlier in the video, we're starting to see the crawl out of the basement happening over here on the altcoin market cap as it's at the all-time high and bouncing off the 200-week moving average. So again, there's still 3 days left in this thing. One thing I know about the market right now is that, you know, you can go look on Twitter, you know, everybody, not everybody, right? Of course, not everybody, but there's a huge segment of people that want the prices to go down. They want to be told prices are going to keep going down. And you can see those posts out there over there on Twitter. So even presenting this idea right here has confliction on what people want. Some people want it, some people don't want it. And then the question comes, well, if it does bounce off of here, what does it actually mean, right? Because you could sit here and you could say, all right, what if this was just a full-blown bear market? What have past bear markets looked like? I mean, look at the bottom of the 2018 through 2020 time period. Are we just going to kind of waddle in here for a long time before things could turn their way up? Or are we going to see some type of V-style recovery if it does bounce out of here and then waddle and then off and it goes? Or is this going to be some type of roll up back in here and then off into a real bear market we actually go for Bitcoin? And I think, or cryptocurrency in general. And I think there's a lot of population that kind of sold out in here, kind of waiting for things to go straight line down and continue straight line down. I don't know which one is going to happen or if the 200-week moving average is going to hold. But we can point to it and say, this is interesting. There's no question it's interesting right here. We've held here for multiple weeks after having 11 straight red weeks down. For some reason, we're pausing out here. We're now on our second green week in this area, and we're crawling out of the basement a little bit right in here. And I'll tell you that this is the smallest thing you could look at over here on the stock market, but we know we're at the 200-week moving average on the Dow Jones and on the NASDAQ. But even that, the Dow Jones had its first kind of small weekly bullish divergence that emerged right there in the last couple of weeks, and it's still been able to hold up for a couple of weeks up in here. So I'm feeling a little bit of optimism, seeing us starting to really kind of get this green week returning back, and we'll see if this green week can actually close above the previous ones in here. I know there's a lot of people who want prices to go down lower, but whether or not you believe in that or not, that's pretty interesting for that to happen in there. Obviously, the big fear in the market has been, the contagion that has happened, and we've got companies like Voyager Digital, Celsius, BlockFi, Three Arrows Capital, exchange worries. And the question is, will there be more of them? Do we still have a bunch of underlying things that are going to come to surface at this point? And Samckman Freed, the CEO of FTX, spoke with Reuters saying that they have a few $1 billion to be able to support the cryptocurrency industry if they needed to. And I'd noticed Walter Bloomberg post this over here on Twitter saying the cryptocurrency exchange FTX has more than $2 billion to backstop crypto industry if needed. The worst appears to be over for the liquidity crunch in the cryptocurrency industry. And what she had said right here, Samckman Freed, head of one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges, FTX, said he and his company still have a few billion on hand to shore up struggling firms that could further destabilize the digital asset industry, but that the worst of the liquidity crunch has likely passed. We're starting to get a few more companies reaching out to us. Those firms are generally not in dire situations, though some smaller crypto exchanges may still fail, he said, adding that the industry has moved beyond other big shoes that have to drop. So Samckman Freed has gotten incredibly popular in the cryptocurrency market as of late. Not that he wasn't already, but even more so due to him stepping in and trying to help a lot of companies, including BlockFi, which we recently saw. But he's out there communicating, saying that the industry has moved beyond other big shoes that have to drop. So it really kind of came as a surprise of Three Arrows Capital and then who was impacted by Three Arrows Capital. And now that we see that Voyager has filed for bankruptcy, it's seeming like we're kind of getting to the end of all the big names that were tied into all of this stuff that had all this exposure to that happened with Three Arrows Capital. So does that mean that the crypto market's ready to rock and roll and everybody's sentiment is back on and we're ready to go flying? Probably not. There's probably a pretty big sentiment damage that has happened to the cryptocurrency market. So it would seem highly weird for things to just, recover really, really quickly. Because from a sentiment standpoint, a lot of things just happen in just rapid succession. That even caught me by surprise. I didn't expect things to happen as fast as they did. The second the Luna and UST collapse happened, you had a big group of people who lost everything in those assets. Then you had people who lost money in Celsius. Then you had people who lost money in Voyager Digital. It's kind of like a tornado just came through. We're all standing around looking at the mess and trying to figure out how to rebuild it all back together. And that there may still be a few storm clouds that are coming afterwards, but based on Samckman Freed from FTX, that the tornado has passed us by and that we've moved beyond any real big surprises that would show up when it comes to any actual real liquidation things happening. Funny that we're going to mention Cathie Wood here for a second time in a video, very rare, but Cathie Wood got really popular in the 2020, 2021 time period because of, the ARK Innovation ETF. And how well it performed. And, it seemed like Cathie really was on top of her game. Of course, now it's not so much like that, right? She really takes it on the chin a lot. But one thing you may not know about Cathie is that I actually knew about her back in 2018. I had never heard of her before. I saw her do some interview on some YouTube video. The video only had 2,000 views at that point. And I remember her being this is when Bitcoin was still $6,000 back in here. And we had been sitting in this time period for months on end. It was really grueling. We stayed here from, June all the way till November. We spent 5 months sitting right here at $6,000. It was speculated that that could be the bottom. But I remember in this little interview that she did, she said, look, if we lose the $6,000 price level, we're going to go all the way down to the 200-week moving average, and that's going to be the bottom. And I gained respect for Cathie at that time period because months ahead of time, she had said this is likely where it's going to go if we just go through that $6,000 price level, that 100-week moving average. The bottom's going to be down there. It's going to be right there at the 200-week moving average. And she talks about, the contagion, capitulation, contagion versus capitulation, all those different things in this video. But, that they're feeling more optimistic after seeing the things that have unfolded as well. And, when it comes to contagion and understanding all of those risks of those people who all lended each other money and how it was all working, I have to really lean on people who have a better idea of being in the know of what's going on with that stuff to say, is it behind us? And based on what we're seeing out there, it seems like the big shoes have all dropped, that we've gotten the names of the big ones that were going to fail out there. That there still may be some small ones that are out there happening. But as for the big surprises and the big ones out there, that it seems they've already happened and we already know about them. And for anybody looking for contrarian signals out there, I'm sure you've seen about it by now, that Jim Cramer, there's like an inverse Cramer ETF that follows the calls for Jim Cramer. But he recently went on television a couple of days ago and said, crypto really does seem to be imploding, went from 3 trillion to 1 trillion. Why should it stop at 1 trillion? There's no real value there. So here we go. He's saying it's imploding. There's no real value here. On June 8th, there are fortunes made in crypto while Jim Cramer recommends buying Bitcoin or Ethereum. And everyone's favorite from back in April, where he was saying to buy Ethereum, they're at $3,000. But now he's screaming it's dead. I remember when he went on to Anthony Pompliano's podcast and he was saying up here, I'll never sell my Bitcoin Pomp. I'll never do it. Then, he sold it. But it does seem to consistently be at the wrong time. And it is absolutely interesting that he's officially become this big, massive bear on cryptocurrencies now. So for the contrarians out there you go. So pretty tame day. Got a green day in the markets. You got a green day over there in the stock market as well. We'll see how the week can wrap itself up. Still, my main focus is, what is this going to mean here in the cryptocurrency market? I think this is the next big event of the cryptocurrency market. And the question comes on whether or not that's a bigger move down in Bitcoin and Ethereum and the rest of the altcoin market can kind of stay put, where the dominance of Bitcoin and Ethereum both fall together. Or is it like what we've seen every time in the past, in that in a big move and a big breakdown in these dominances leads to a bigger rise in the altcoin market? And that's really kind of, I think, the next big event of the market after that. If we get something like that, what would be the thing to come after that? Be a long period of sideways with Bitcoin dominance and Ethereum dominance. And would that kind of mark the end of, any hope for, more appreciation in altcoins over Bitcoin and over Ethereum? At least that's what we typically see in the cryptocurrency market. There are like these periods of time where the altcoin market really performs well. It's not that they're really always performing awesome at all times. There's like these specific periods. And so for a specific period for the altcoin market to perform well, we're approaching that by looking at the Bitcoin and Ethereum dominance. We're just speculating that based on the Bitcoin and Ethereum dominance, that is the next moment to come in here of what's going to happen with the altcoin market. And that's my main focus. I find it interesting to see that it's also the one holding the 200-week moving average, whereas with Ethereum, it's struggling underneath it, and Bitcoin as well is struggling underneath it. So still just a waiting game over here on this, but it was expected that there would be a pause out time period happening in here, and we could see that the time is elapsing and getting in closer and closer. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm happy to see that the guy who is getting approached the most to bail out the cryptocurrency industry, Samckman Freed from FTX, is saying that we've moved beyond other big shoes to drop in this market. And it does make me more comfortable to have Jim Cramer on the opposite side. Because during the peak moments of this, and I know not everybody was around during the time, but in 2021, when we were having all these CNBC personalities come on and really rally the retail investors. I know not everybody was here at that time, but I was screaming, it's not a good sign when you got Cramer over here. You got people like Kevin O'Leary from CNBC. When you just have CNBC doing that, whether there's malicious attempts in there or not, or whether it's just, bad timing, I can't speculate either way, but the timing is always poor. Going through these moments all through here, being through all of this here on this chart, CNBC was anti-crypto. The personalities on CNBC were anti-crypto, and then they become pro-crypto way up here. And now we're getting them being anti again. So that is a tinfoil hat thing, but it just kind of comes from personal experiences. Either way, we're still holding that 200-week. FTX CEO says, hey, the worst is behind us in regards to Contagion. And well, I'm still waiting on the big event and what's going to happen with this whole thing. So we'll see what the week brings. But it's definitely been stressful not really knowing what are the underlying risks in regards to contagion and liquidations and liquidity crises that are happening out there. And still, I don't have the inside information to be able to know because I'm not in the loop with all these venture capitalists and these crypto exchange CEOs to know what's actually happening. But it's nice to see a little reassurance coming out of them. So we'll take what we can get. Otherwise, I hope that you guys are having a good week. It's weird. It's been a green week in the cryptocurrency market this week. I'll check in with you guys again later. Again, sponsor of the channel, Link2, is running their promotion today for accredited investors who decide to invest in Ripple and in Link2 will get $1,000 back in XRP. And they've also reduced their minimums today. You can check them out by visiting the link in the description of this video. And otherwise, I want to wish you guys a good day. But on that note, we'll wrap this thing up. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.